Yeah, very much so. It's something that came as a surprise, a nice surprise to say that. I've never been down the country this far before. And, we're living in Blackburn first, and then Carlisle, and then it's like coming to another country. But no, everybody's made me feel really welcome, and it's made it quite easy. The 3 days I spent here so far have been absolutely outstanding.
Can you tell us a bit about your playing past as well as coaching as well?
Yeah, played non-league football. Played for Accrington and Morecambe and Clitheroe before the latter two got into the league, when they were all non-league clubs. Quite a decent centre half, if I say so, but I couldn't run. So it's an hard game if you can't run. It was always interesting me, so played local league after that, and wondering what I was going to do when I finished playing. And coaching's always interesting, so I started off as a youth coach with Preston North End. That's where I met the manager as a 15-year-old, and then went to Blackburn as their under-16s coach, and spent 6-7 years there, and then got offered the head of youth, the reserve team manager's job at Carlisle United, where I stayed for 17 years before I went back to Blackburn as the under-23s head coach, and then ended up for the last 2 years of my career in Blackburn as academy manager. Left that role to be assistant manager in Irish Premier League with Limerick, and then for the past 5 months I've been doing some work for the Premier League. And then I got the call from Matt to see if I were interested in this position, which came as a surprise, but a really nice one, and I've been really impressed with everything about the club.
So you've obviously got a lot of experience coaching-wise as well. How do you think that will help Matt being a younger manager?
Yeah, I mean, in the past I've always give advice to first-time managers, whether they're young, old, middle-aged, or whatever you want to call it. I've always said, always bring somebody in with experience, and I've always told managers that they need somebody alongside them who's worked with several managers, not as a player. He's worked with a lot of managers as a player. I've worked with a lot of managers as a coach, so it's a completely different role. And so my advice to first-time managers has always been, bring somebody in with some who's got some experience, who's been around a little bit, never knowing that, when I were talking to him to congratulate him on getting the job, that the next few lines would be, well, you're the man that I want to come down with me. And that's quite powerful when somebody rings you up who you've probably only spoken to twice in 20-something years, to come and take this role on. So he's obviously thought that I did some help with him when he was 15-year-old, and I hope I can help him now as a first-time manager and a young one at that.
And what's your footballing philosophy? How do you like the game to be played?
It's like to win games. There's people talk about the way the game should be played. The idea of the game is you put the ball in the net at that end more than you let it in at your end, and the way you do it, you've got to work out opposition you're playing against and what's best for you to win that game. So philosophy, of course, we want to play the Brazilian way from 1970 or the Spanish way from the last few years, but sometimes you haven't got the players and sometimes you haven't got the ability to do that, so you've got to find a way of winning football matches, and that's my philosophy.
Are you looking forward to making the move to Devon from the northwest?
Yeah, that was a big one. There was, in the early discussions, it was nothing to do with the club, the facilities, the money, anything. It was all about, I thought my travelling days were over when I came back from Limerick and I settled down in Carlisle. I love the area. I moved there 12 years ago, and I would think when my working days are over, that's where I'll live. So that was a major decision, and it still will be, because I don't know the area, but it looks absolutely delightful. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Carlisle, but just about 800 miles away, isn't it?
What are your thoughts on the club and the players? Do you know a great deal about them?
No, I've only noticed Exeter for the last 2 years, obviously, again to playoff finals, obviously beating Carlisle in a two-legged game, which I went to the home leg at Brunton Park, and knowing that they had a manager who's did a remarkable job both in with the club and staying that length of time. It's not known now, managers don't get that length of time anymore. So you always had an eye on that because Paul was like always quoted as being the second longest manager, and so you always looked at it who's going to go first, him or Arsene Wenger and that. So that Exeter caught people's imagination because of that, because obviously the board must support the manager, or else he wouldn't have been in that role that long.
Of course, the club is going into a new era, new stand, new management as well, new kit on the way. Is that something that really attracted you to it?
No, I just think the way that the chairman and Matt have spoke about the club. I don't know enough about the past of Exeter for that to have an effect on me. The training ground is superb. They should be really proud of having a place like this as a League Two club, and hopefully they'll get to where they want to go in League One, and it'll still be one of the better training grounds. And the stadium's having an overall, obviously it's a big push. It's a new era for Exeter, and to be invited to be part of that is something that I couldn't really turn down.